Back in the 1870s here in St. Louis, there was a guy named Hiram Leffingwell.
Leffingwell.
You may have heard of the Leffingwell Society. It's named after him.
Ron, I've heard of the street, Leffingwell.
Named after him as well. He was a small-time promoter, a developer. Actually, I think he's responsible for Kirkwood, so that's no small thing right there.
But
yes.
It's not named Leffingwell.
No, it is not. No, Leffingwell Village. Right.
Put the well in Leffingwell.
He promoted for many years the concept and idea of building a park for the city of St. Louis, for the people of St. Louis, that was free and everything in it was free. And he succeeded in doing that. It is called Forest Park.
Well,
yes.
Not Leffingwell Park.
Not Leffingwell Park, no. We have here with us Aaron Williams, who has been with us in the past for the 7th grade
Poetry Foundation.
Yes. You are the president and founder of that, but we're not talking poetry today and certainly aren't rhyming.
Is that what we did last time?
Aaron reminds me of Leffingwell. That's why I bring it up.
Why?
Aaron, welcome back.
Why that?
I'm every man.
You're every woman in the world to me.
I'll tell you why. Because over beers in Soulard a few weeks ago, he starts laying out this grandiose plan to me and convinced me that we do not need a stadium on our riverfront.
Oh.
That rectangle is
you're
too
not
valuable
alone in
for
that thought, but what is your angle on it?
You come with a plan. You come with an idea and with the passion behind it, alternative ideas for that riverfront and a better place to put the stadium. So, let's start with, just very quickly, a better place to put the stadium and why.
Illinois.
Why?
One, you need job creation in Illinois also, but there is an exit already in Illinois for 78,000 people to show up at the Gateway International Motorsports Park.
Well, that's never going to happen because it's Illinois.
It's 7 miles away from the arch.
I
It would
know,
take
but
you more
York
time
that.
to get a parking space
Where-
down. New York Jets, New York Giants, New
Where do they play?
Jersey.
They play in New Jersey.
Foxborough is not exactly downtown Boston either. Anaheim, and where they're talking about putting the LA Stadium, not downtown either. What you're really looking at is you really want a large space away from your
East
downtown.
St. Louis area? Or?
It's in Madison County. It's just 7 miles across the bridge. And a lot of the workers who work in the stadium come from Illinois. A lot of the fans come from Illinois. But you're really looking at tailgating. You're not really looking at something that is a great use of the most prominent space that defines our region downtown.
I'm not saying no, that'll never happen because it's Illinois. I'm just saying that people can't get over that. People from
what
Missouri.
you need to really focus on is the 90 acres.
Right, and what Hiram is saying here is that the acres are over there. They're ready. The exit is already there. It would cost considerably less to put it there.
$150 million less and a year sooner at least to build it.
Wow.
At least.
And they haven't even thought of this? I mean,
No.
has this been proposed to
Well,
them?
they're not talking about it.
They're not talking about it.
They have a thing up their butts about putting it on the riverfront right
Well,
now.
I understand
All right.
that.
So there are other ideas for the riverfront, and this is where we've failed as a city to consider alternatives, to talk about alternatives, to pitch other ideas, and this man here is doing just that. So let's talk about some of the ideas that you have suggested as a way to encourage others to do the same.
Well, the first thing you want to do is look at the fact that we live in a zero-sum region. And so if you were going to try and put apartment buildings, or if you're condos, or if you're going to put office space on this 90 acres, you're going to be emptying out residences, something else here in the region. You're not adding any value. You also have a problem with Laclede's Landing. Really, if you were to put a stadium there, you're only talking about 8 days, 10 days a year filling the stadium up. If you added soccer, another 10. If you added soccer, you'll wind up having 325 days a year that entire 90-acre site is basically empty.
Why? Why do you think it's only that?
Because that's all you're going to do
That's
with
what
any
happens
stadium.
with football stadiums. That's what happens.
That's it.
Those
and you're
few
talking
things.
about a $1 billion investment.
It's not a convention
here.
center. We already have a convention center.
Yeah.
So
Here's what doesn't go on that stadium. So let's get rid of the ground rules first.
Parking lots.
First, you don't need the NFL's mandated 23,000 parking spaces for a location that's not even going to be used 40 days a year. It's not going to be an art museum. It's not going to be a zoo. It's not going to be a science center. It's not going to be another sculpture park. It's not going to be a botanical garden. It's not going to be an amusement park. It's not going to be a performing arts center. It's not going to be another sports arena. And and it's not going to be, as you said, office and residential.
Because we have all these and we
so
need them
now
more,
what
right.
you want to say is, and ideally you would keep Bob Casilli's sculpture. You would wind up trying to keep...
He says Casilli, too, just like I do. It's Casilli. But
it is?
We say
Okay.
Casilli. I don't know where that came from.
And
silly.
and you're really looking for something, especially since, an NFL stadium is dominated by somebody out of town. So now you're really talking about, if I gave you $1 billion, what would you put there? What could be enduring for well over 50 years, like the 1904 World's Fair still being talked about today, like the 1964 World's Fair I went to in New York, still being talked about today? What could we put there that adds a completely new dimension, that makes the kid in Oregon, the kid in London want to tug on your pant leg and say, Daddy, I want to go here.
It
Mommy,
has to do
take
two
me
things.
here.
It has to be used daily, and it has to draw people from out of town.
365-day usage,
zero sum.
and it helps Laclede's Landing by 365 because it's probably daytime usage, and daytime helps redefine and give a new purpose to Laclede's Landing as you're going from the arch, which people from all over the world come to. What could we put on that 90 acres?
And you have three.
And I have three
suggestions.
ideas.
Okay,
So
and I
let's
love
just
the third one. I
Well,
think
let's
it
hear them,
encompasses all
because
of them.
honestly, you can't project into the future how long
No, but
something's going to be
all
there.
he's doing is illustrating and showing that there are ideas that have not even been considered.
Okay,
There
And
are
let's start a
legitimate
dialogue
ideas.
among 3 million people that live in this region.
Right.
And many of them wind up being craftsmen, and this town is founded on craftsmen.
Yes.
And so why not have something like this old house on steroids? We'll have Craft World.
Okay, Craft World.
Okay?
For lack of a better name.
For lack of a better name. Each of the buildings would actually be built by crafts and tradespeople. We're one of the oldest union towns in the country.
But what do you do there?
You would wind up, well, one, you're going to find out how to restore your houses.
Oh, I
okay?
see.
So so you'd also
It's like
bring
a home
in,
show.
It would be.
Yeah.
Interactive, all-inclusive.
Interactive. So you have all these old homes. How do I fix anything? But you'd also wind up having all the unions perhaps moving their offices down there. And each building, like the 1964 World's Fair, each building represents the best welders, the best aeronautical engineers.
Okay, let's go on to the second idea so we don't run out of time.
Right. The next one would wind up being Green World. And so you obviously look at protecting the environment. You already know that no matter what this is, the power plant, a global idea, puts St. Louis on the map just by saying we want to have the first urban-based hydro power plant, the most efficient in the world.
But come on, I mean, that does not have the draw that the NFL has.
I think it's Craft World on steroids. I don't think it does.
Actually, you'd be really surprised how wrong that answer is.
Really? Because there's
yes,
a
because
energy house right here
because
in
if
the-
I sell out the ballpark for 10 games, I only have 650,000 people showing up. Okay, that's selling it
And
out.
leaving.
But what
Okay?
makes you
Soon
think you're
after.
going to have a
leaving.
big
They
draw
come and
for
leave
Green World?
because you're also talking about recycling. You're talking about the entire Green World being built out of recyclable waste.
I hear that
okay.
it's built out of that, but who's going to
Okay.
go see
You're also
that?
talking about having a biodome on
All
this
right.
massive building.
Let's go to
I don't wanna
let's go to
see
the
the
third idea. See if this
recycling
entices
Well,
you.
go to the
because-
third idea.
'cause
The
I-
third idea relates to the fact that out of 32 NFL teams, we are one of fewer than 5 cities that don't have a major world-class aquarium.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll give you that.
So what would make St. Louis different than the Shed, which gets more than 2 million people a year, than the Audubon Aquarium in New Orleans, 2 million people a year, and the Memphis Aquarium? What makes ours different? Well, one, because of that hydropower plant. Now you're talking about using the river. Now you're talking about
There it is.
celebrating the river. And now you're talking about building an aquarium that is completely based on rivers. Each floor of this aquarium, and we're talking about not just a 2-acre size building, we're talking about 20, 30-acre size building. Each floor replicates the ecosystem of the world's largest rivers.
Doesn't Chattanooga have that? I think
Not
their
like,
aquarium-
not
None.
on this,
They
not
only
on
have
this
their own
scale.
right.
What
This
they
is
all wind up
all-
having is fish tanks. So
Yeah.
you would have an entire floor celebrating the Amazon, another one the Nile, another one the Yangtze, Another
that
one,
cool?
of course, the Mississippi,
Okay, okay.
and
Yeah.
another one, the Danube. And you'd be able to look out
Danube.
the Danube, longest river in Europe.
Okay,
Well, Casilli
you
made
add
that
to
one.
that though. You add some of
Then-
some of Craft World to that, and you add some of Green
On
World to
top
that.
of this massive structure is the world's largest urban-based biodome, growing the flora. You're talking about walking into an aquarium, by the way, where the water looks outside the building, so you're actually seeing through the tanks, looking outside.
Okay, now,
you're
as you
also
can see-
staring at the Mississippi from this. You're also talking about having the world's largest research
Aaron,
center.
time to come down now.
Okay,
See, this is
right.
it.
It gets
This
more
might-
exciting because you're collaborating with the Danforth plant science people. You're collaborating locally with the botanical garden and the zoo, and up in Grafton in East Alton, Illinois, they have a river science center there, but it's really college level mainly, and it's small.
Look what this man has put together in a short period of time just to demonstrate the fact that we're just not thinking here.
Well, that's
When-
And
right.
what about the monorail that takes you across the highway for the
Well,
convention
there isn't
center?
anybody
Okay?
in charge of planning this. I mean, the
Right.
We
you know,
are.
Yeah.
We can be in charge
It's
of
our
this.
city.
But we're
It's
not.
our city.
Right.
It is not
Right.
the NFL's city.
Exactly.
It's not, frankly,
Well, that's
the
because they're
governor's
doing
city.
it.
Now look,
It's
Disney
our
came
city.
in.
Go to Next STL to see this all laid out in the coming weeks.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank
River
you
World.
to Abusi Michele Insurance for making today's segment possible. They continuously work to provide the individual coverage you require. They also handle commercial life and health insurance. Contact Tina Michele at 314-832-6667.